Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Caravan guard. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the latter part of the video I'm going to take a look at the perks, mutations and everything you need to know in order to get the character right. Now what this character is going to be about is we're making a Vats heavy Rifleman. But for once we're not using sneak. Now usually best approach for a Rifleman character is definitely to go with a sneak character. Simple reasons, works very well, gives you extra damage and everything, but this is going to be more of a run gun kind of character, meaning we're constantly on the move. We, as I said, don't use stealth, and the weapon I'm choosing here is a lever action rifle. In my opinion, it's a good fit for the simple reason that it has a nice mix between fire rate and damage. Now there are other options. For example, the gauss rifle would be a weapon that is very good in terms of damage, however you're not having the best fire rate. And weapons like, for example, the handmade or something, you can turn them semi-automatic, but on the other hand they have less damage. Now this is a nice middle ground. And as you can see here, the nice thing about this build is we're going to have a crit ready every second shot. Now there's a very prominent build, so to speak, that can do this, which is the best approach you can do is if you're having an unyielding character, for example, you can simply get your luck up to 34, sorry, and if you manage to do that in combination with critical savvy, you can refill your critical meter with a single shot. Now if you're not using a bloodied character, it's kinda hard to do that actually, because I'm sure with the right food buffs and everything you could get your luck as high. However, that means there's a lot of investment. Now what we're doing here is we're using a weapon that has the Vats crits feel faster legendary effect, and with that effect you need significantly less luck to obtain the same power, so to speak. To be more precise, the amount of luck you need on this occasion is 23. Now I will show this off later, but as you can see here, okay, let's make a crit, and with a single shot we're back to a full crit. Now 23, I tested it, I thought it was 24, however, yeah, 23 is enough. And on our character we can constantly do this. The only buff that we need currently is awesome opossum bacon, which is pretty easy to get, honestly. Let's see if we can get, yeah, some reputation, and I'm sure he's now regretting it. Well, that was a shot. Yeah, back to the topic. 23 luck is necessary, and we're using opossum bacon, or awesome opossum bacon as it's called, which gives us another 2 luck because we're constantly at 21 luck. Opossum bacon really easy to get. There's some fixed spawns for opossums, mainly in flatwoods, and as you know, food buffs, they generally hold for half an hour, which makes them very easy to use in my opinion. I'm not a fan of first thing I wanted to do was use the happy-go-lucky perk and use whiskey, because it would also fit this kind of cowboy vibe we're going. However, yeah, alcohol buffs don't last so long, and I'm finding it kind of tedious to always refresh my buffs, so I went for opossum bacon. However, keep in mind we have 3 of our luck, I think it's 3, comes from our legendary armor pieces, and theoretically you could just use 5 of them if you have them. I didn't find the necessary pieces here, so I went for the buff situation. However, if you find 5 pieces of armor with the extra luck, you can use this build here to permanently increase your luck high enough so you can get the crits and don't need buffs anymore. Alright, let's see if we can get its attention a little bit. And we also have the Executioner's effect as well as the Explosive effect, which works together very well. The Executioner's effect, arguably not the best effect for a rifle in my opinion, but it's not that interesting. The real thing we wanted here was the last effect, which I said already, better Vats crits, faster Vats crits. Now, my dream weapon here would be probably a quad lever action with better Vats hit chance and with the Vats fills faster effect, but we're not living in a perfect world. I do have a quad lever action, which I tend to use when I'm fighting like lower level enemies roaming around the forest. It works very well and we're not needing crits all that much. However, yeah, I tended to use this weapon here for the simple reason that I wanted to show off this crits potential. Now, this is something you can obviously do with pretty much any build. You just need to get the effect and the high luck, and then you're good to go. It's always nice to see something working out like that. And other than that, I gotta say, obviously you're missing out on damage because you're not doing sneak. However, it's a nice... the gameplay feels very fluent and very nice. Now, there are obvious problems here, which you always have. For example, one thing that you can easily say is something we will probably see in a minute when we're fighting an Assaultron here. You're using Vats. You can obviously use free aim, however, all damage comes from our Vats crits, so potentially enemies like Assaultrons or, for example, the Myalur Kings that can cloak themselves, yeah, they can be potentially pretty tough to fight. However, keep in mind, we do have investment into the Demolitions Expert perk, so that means what we can do is, theoretically, we can just carry some grenades and use those for such situations. Especially with robots, like use pulse grenades, for example. Wait a second, I thought we were already aiming for the thruster. Anyways, there's this guy here. As you can see, we're reloading quite often with this weapon. However, despite what you would think initially, it's actually not that big of a deal because the weapon reloads pretty fast, and we're also using some perks and mutations to help us with that. So it's not that big of a deal. And it's just something that comes with the build. You could, as I said, if you're using a quad version, for example, that's less of a problem because most fights you could finish before you have to reload. However, as I said, we're not using a quad version here. I wasn't lucky enough, and I didn't want to keep this build in the background until I get such a weapon. Now, let's kill some further ghouls, and after that we're going to kill some super mutants. But yeah, as you saw here, I'm kind of glad there was no Assaultron, but you can imagine how that would be going. Okay, single crit. Another thing I noticed, I'm not quite sure, I haven't paid that close attention, but the Executioner's effect seems to work fairly well with the explosive effect, because on occasions where you would nearly one-shot enemies, but not quite, I think what happens is that your bullet simply does, like, let's say 70% of damage to the enemy, and theoretically your explosive effect, or the damage from your explosive effect, comes afterwards. So that can potentially already benefit from your Executioner's effect, which makes the explosive effect quite more usable. However, I'm not quite sure. It could just be that I'm misinterpreting something here. However, I think it seems like that's how it works. Another thing is, obviously sometimes we do run out of AP, however I didn't find it to be a big problem. On this occasion I could have just used... alright, there it is. Another shot. Pretty easy so far. One thing that was surprisingly working out pretty well was crowd control, actually. I thought that this would be one of the biggest problems this character would have. For example, if we're running the White Spring area. But for some reason it turned out to work fairly well. Maybe I was lucky with a bit laggy server, so ghouls did use some more time in order to group up or anything. But it worked relatively well. Another thing that's pretty nice about the lever action is that the reload animation doesn't need to be fully reloaded. So that means you're not having to reload all 5 bullets once you're running out. Oftentimes you can just reload one bullet, shoot it, reload another bullet, shoot it. This will obviously reduce your fire rate a little. However, especially if you're fighting Scorch Beasts or something, it makes the weapon more manageable in my opinion, other than having to reload all 5 shots every 5 shots. So that's a potential benefit. Now another thing you can see here is we're having kind of mid-range, so at longer range we're not only using damage, but we also lose quite a bit of accuracy, so it's definitely a possibility that you miss some shots here and there. However, I didn't find it all that problematic, and otherwise you wanna be relatively close range anyways. Now in terms of the modifications on our weapon, one thing you will probably see is that I'm having a scope on it rather than a reflex sight. The reflex sight would be beneficial in terms of Vats. It's usually the best option you have. However, I wanted to have the scope on this occasion simply for aesthetic reasons. Nothing else really. Alright. We're getting a bit into trouble here, but nothing we aren't able. Now let's see, maybe we get lucky with our chest piece, which is life-saving, but doesn't look like it on this occasion. So let's just respawn. Now, a mistake I made here was I was just too actively going into enemies. I should have taken some cover. So yeah, that was a bit on my part, I guess. This death was unnecessary, so I could have just fallen back a little. But yeah, as you probably know, once the high level super mutants with the miniguns, they are for the most part not dangerous, simply because they usually go down before you even before they even can fire. They need some time before they find or before they start shooting. However, once they do, when they aim at you and they start firing, yeah, they can be devastating. They have really high DPS, so that can be problematic, and I think that was what happened here. Another thing is, while you may lose some shots here and there, usually it's not that big of a deal for the simple reason that we're using crits often. Now on this occasion, if there is a legendary that you can take down in a few shots, the better option is to focus on other enemies first. So let's take down the simple one, just so there's one less person to damage us. Can start off with a crit here. Alright, this was a bit unnecessary. And here you saw it, how we just reloaded one shot and immediately shot that. So on the other hand, I'm just shooting some bullets here, so you can see in first person how fast the weapon reloads. It's not that big of a deal. One notable thing is, let's just switch to it. I think you saw how it turns out with this amount of crits. This is the quad version I have. I think it's bash damage and faster movement speed, so for all intents and purposes it's pretty much a quad version, simply. We're not benefiting from the explosive effect, obviously, since we don't have that, and we're not getting crits so often. However, it does work well too, and even though you're having 20 shots, you reload them individually, so it's not like on some other weapons, most notably the quad harpoon gun, for example, where even though you have 4 shots, you reload 1 and all 4 are reloaded. On this occasion you do reload every single one individually. Now let's just go with this weapon here from here on, so you can see how that performs, because this is the weapon I originally wanted to make the video with, because I found it fits the character quite well, this western style where you're shooting a hail of bullets and everything flies everywhere. Now this was very unlucky here. It works out nice. Now you do have to take follow-up shots very often. You're rarely one-shot enemies. However, I don't find it to be particularly problematic. For some reason I find this to be a bit more unprecise than my other weapon. I can't pinpoint why exactly that is, because there's no thing that should actually reduce its accuracy compared to the other weapon. But yeah, it's just something I noticed. Again, it could just be my own way of receiving things, but yeah, seems like it. I do like it. It does, after all, improve your DPS quite a little, for the simple reason that you don't have to reload less. And well, here we have some red stacks. if we do it right here, well, we were a bit unlucky because we could actually have maybe gotten away with a good with a good chain of. Yeah, here you can see we're definitely better off with our executioner's weapon here. The extra damage from the explosive effect really helps us here, and especially with tankier enemies, or at least those here in the middle ground that are a bit tankier but not, you know, like the big targets like sheep squatches or something. Yeah, the executioner's effect works fairly well. Can reduce, like, let's say hypothetically 20 shots to 15. And as you can see here, I just think it's more precise. I'm really not sure what happens here. Another thing is what you see here every now and then is that the mysterious stranger shows up. Never really bothered with this perk. I just used it on this occasion because I had one perk point left that I wasn't quite sure what to use it for. Now you could obviously use it for something like the psychopath or something, but on this occasion I thought, yeah, probably the best idea to use something I don't use all that often, and it procs surprisingly often. I always thought that it was more rare, especially with rank 1 only. I'm not sure if it's a good perk. I think it doesn't do all that much, so I would not advise you to do it. It was just a little bit I wanted to see here because, yeah, after all, we're talking about one perk point that we needed to use here, and I actually got that perk card in the perk pack like a few minutes ago, so yeah, just wanted to give it a shot here. As you can see here, mid-range, yeah, the problem is missing shots. So we really want to be closer usually, but one thing that's good here is we actually get some good gun fu action. Why did I mention it? No, I lost it. Alright. So 1175 is going down with one shot with a crit. That's nice. Nothing to complain here. Okay. I like the guitar riff, by the way, of the mysterious stranger. It's a very Fallouty perk. Do quite like it, even though it may not be good, as I just said. Let's see. Drop down on it. I'm wondering where there are some people left. Okay, here we do have a hound, but I think there's still some mutants around. Not sure where. I'm still hearing combat music, and our mutation doesn't heal us, so there must be someone around. Let's see if we can find him. Okay, another hound. Yeah, that was the last one. As you can see here, our health regenerates. So that was it in terms of gameplay. Obviously, as I said, this is not really min-maxed. You can definitely do better damage output. However, I find that it was a very satisfying gameplay. Bit different here, bit more run and gun, as I said. And now let's take a look at all the intricacies. Now, first and foremost, here it is. This is the weapon I started the video off and finished here, obviously. A Executioner's explosive lever action rifle with Vats crits filling faster. Now, very good weapon in my opinion. If you want to just use a bit better one, I guess anti-armor would be beneficial here, or quad explosive. As I said, dream weapon, quad, Vats hit chance, Vats filling faster. But yeah, that's just personal preference here. This was the other one I was using, the quad version. Yeah, bash damage and faster movement speed, I was correct there. Now, in terms of armor, we have a really mixed match set. We do have here a life-saving chest piece, a mutant sentinel piece. We don't really make any use of the sentinel effect, we're mostly on the move. The important thing here is luck. And then we have 3 weightless pieces, one with AP refresh, one with luck, and this one has also luck, yes. We do have 2 weapon weight reduction pieces, which are quite nice, but you don't need them, as you see here. It's just, yeah. Yes, that was it in terms of armor. We're using a shielded volt suit for a bit more luck here. You could also go for something else if you don't want to use this luck trick here. In terms of mutations, let's see, here we go. We do have this opossum bacon going on for another 11 minutes, luck +2. We don't have any mutation that buffs this, so keep that in mind. Now, we do have Adrenal Reaction, Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Grounded, Healing Factor and Marsupial. So nothing out of the ordinary for a Rifleman here. Adrenal Reaction is just something, well, you want it or you don't want it. Unless you are a blooded build, then it's definitely useful. However, on this occasion, yeah, I just had it. You can live without it though. The important part here is Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes. Better crits, more perception, more agility helps us with our Vats damage output and how long we can stay in Vats. Egghead is just there to give us a bit more intelligence to level faster. Grounded, on this occasion, I wanted to use it, giving us a little bit more energy resistance, because most of our resistances come from our our metal armor, which mostly gives damage resistance. And since we're not using energy weapons on this occasion, yeah, the grounded mutation is very beneficial because it levels out our resistances a little bit. Now we do have healing factor, another hit or miss. You don't need it if you want it. We don't use camps on this build, so I figured it's nice. It obviously reduces the effect of our stimpaks, but that's about every impact it has. And replenishing your health after a fight, I do like it. As I said, not necessary though. And Speed Demon and Marsupial. Well, Speed Demon definitely necessary here. We're spending a lot of time reloading, and as you can see, we can reload quite fast. However, that's to Speed Demon and the Ground Pounder perk, which I'm going to show off in a little. Marsupial, yeah, more carry weight and jump height. You know the thrill. Use it or don't use it. However, I rarely see someone who doesn't. Here we can show it off. We do have pretty leveled combination of damage and energy resistance. We do have a broken piece here though. Yeah, that's the only one, so let's just repair that quickly so we can see how it usually looks. Didn't really refresh, I'm not sure what happened here. Well, anyways, doesn't really matter. We do have the Caravan ahead here. You can use the black cowboy hat if you want to go for a atom-free approach. Now onto our perks. We do have 5 strength, bandolier and blocker. Pretty low-key here. Bandolier is nice to have since we're using a lot of ammunition, a lot of ballistic ammo, but if you don't need it, don't take it, obviously. We do use blocker here. Enemies can come in pretty regularly. We can be hit by something like a mutant hound or maybe a ghoul or something, so blocker is definitely beneficial. In terms of perception, nothing out of the ordinary here. We do have all the Rifleman perks maxed out. Concentrated fire at rank 1, ground pounder at rank 2. We wanted to have the ability to target heads, however we wanted more faster reload. 20% faster reload is definitely noticeable, so yeah, I really wanted to have that. And the last thing here is tank killer, which is pretty obvious. More armor penetration and the stagger chance is never a bad thing on a Rifleman character. In terms of endurance, we went very low-key here, only 4 endurance, but with Life Giver we're giving us a little bit more max health. So this pretty much counters out our Adrenal Reaction perk, so mutation, if you don't use that, you're even a bit more tanky. Now, on this occasion I didn't went with Fireproof perk, simply because I have a dense chest piece, and on a full health character I found that that was enough to keep us going. Now, in terms of charisma, we only have rank 3, Tenderizer, for the simple reason that we do often use follow-up shots. Now, once we're having our adrenaline up and we get our crits and maybe get some gun fu trains going, we don't really need it all that much, but it's nice to have, especially if you're fighting something like a Sworge Beast or anything. It's definitely beneficial, and I wanted to have it here. In terms of agility, we do intelligence. We do have 10 intelligence, so fairly in the middle ground, with Demo Expert and Gunsmith. Now, Demo Expert, since our weapon is explosive, we can definitely use it here, getting a little bit more damage. Never hurts, even though it's quite a big investment, so it's up to you if you want to invest that much. And we do have Gunsmith here. Now, Gunsmith arguably not necessary, since the new model Bethesda came up with makes it so that condition goes down way less than it used to. So nice thing here, you don't need Gunsmith anymore. You could go for first aid, would not hurt, but do whatever you like here. Agility, this is another one that's important. We do have Action Boy, Born Survivor, Gun Fu, White Knight and Adrenaline. Now, Born Survivor, It's just convenient in my opinion. However, if you don't want to use it, you wouldn't be wrong to just use Adrenaline 5 to gain even more damage over time. White Knight I found very beneficial on this occasion because we're getting hit a lot. We're not using stealth and we're in close to mid-range, so not having to repair your armor all that much is definitely a good idea here. Gunfu at rank 3 I definitely recommend because you're using Vats constantly, and especially if you're fighting something like these ghouls or super mutants that you saw just, the extra damage you're getting from Gunfu really adds up and you really see it. However, it's a bit, yeah, you can't control it as much, but I still like it. At least rank 1 is necessary because it makes your gameplay more fluent in my opinion. And Action Boy simply here because we don't have a lot of buffs to our AP regeneration, so we don't have Lone Wanderer. I think we only have one piece with AP refresh on our armor, and over time we would probably want to have luck pieces rather than that. So yeah, Action Boy definitely a good idea here since we're using AP a lot. And Bloody Mass, luck, sorry, probably the most important stat here. We do have Bloody Mask, Grim Reaper Sprint, Better Critical, Starch Genes, Critical Savvy, and 1 rank of Mysterious Stranger. Now the important part here, the most important part is Critical Savvy. I explained it during the video how it works together with our high luck, so yeah, this combined with our legendary effect on the weapon and our luck at 23 with the use of Opossum Bacon makes it so we can use a crit on every second shot. Obviously better criticals, since we're investing so much into crits, we might as well make them better, right? Grim Reaper Sprint procs often enough usually, so you never run out of Vats and out of AP. Now it does happen every now and then, but for the most part you can stay in Vats for pretty much all of the time. And Bloody Mess is here, bit of extra damage. You could use something else. Quick Hands would probably be a good idea on this occasion, however I don't really like it all that much. 4-Leaf Clover, not necessary, since yeah, we can't get more crits honestly than we already do. And something you could use is Class Freak or maybe Serendipity. Tormentor would actually be a good idea if you're fighting bosses, but that's about it. I went for Bloody Mass. I think the little bit of extra damage that comes from it is worth the investment here. And onto our legendary perks. We do have 1 legendary luck, so keep in mind we could just improve here. So leveling up this perk twice would be enough so we can use crits all the time. Ammo Factory, it's my main character and I use it for crafting ammo, so not necessary, but I have it here. And as you can see, we're pretty much completely investing into more special stats. Legendary Endurance at rank 2, Legendary Intelligence at rank 5, Legendary Strength at 2, and Perception at 1. So not a lot to say about this, it's just what I used in order to get the build together. Pretty standard, I guess. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the build so far. It was a bit of a different one, and this is actually a basis for a build I will do soon. So that's going to be an explosive character that's highly invested into Vats, so keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the build, guys, and see you next time. Bye.